Definition, history, and socio-economic impact of zoonotic disease, classification of zoonosis, and approach sorry, to their management, multi-sectoral approach of zoonosis prevention and control. Veterinary public health is a field of activity which protects and advances human well-being by utilizing the combination knowledge and resources of all those concerned with human and animal health and their interrelationship. Veterinary public health (VPH) in India, education, research, practice. National Center for Disease Control Delhi, the Division of Zoonoses, was established at the NCDC in 1964. Indian Veterinary Research Institute, Ijatnagar, 1889, as the Imperial Bacteriological Laboratory upon the recommendation of the Indian Plague Commission. The IVRI Division of Veterinary Public Health was established in 1971 on the Ijatnagar campus. In 1954, the Brucellosis Laboratory of IVRI was recognized as a Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations (FAO) or WHO referred center of the Southeast Asia region. Hawkin Institute of Training, Research and Testing, Mumbai research on zoonotic disease. National Institute of Virology, Pune. Today, the NIV is a WHO collaborating center for arbovirus and hemorrhagic fever reference and research and a national monitoring center for several diseases, namely influenza, Japanese encephalitis, retrovirus, measles and hepatitis. All India Institute of Hygiene and Public Health, Kolkata, 30 December 1932, oldest school of public health in Southeast. Human-animal interface. Zoonosis. Zoon means animal, nosis means disease or infection that are naturally transmitted from vertebra animal to human. Zoonosis is a singular in term and zoonosis is plural in term. Rudolf Virchow, German physician, the father of modern pathology, and as the founder of social medicine, was the first biologist to establish a link between infectious disease between human and animal. The Joint Expert Committee of WHO and FAO has defined zoonoses as those diseases and infections which are naturally transmitted between vertebra animal and human and man. How do human beings become infected? Direct contact, indirect contact. Rodents, biting vector, carrier vector. How does pathogen gain access to a farm? Replacement, heifer, cow, truck, bird, feed, water, vectors. Big ones: global trade, climate change, unsuitable urbanization, emerging resistance. Classification of zoonoses and approach to their management. On the basis of causative agent, bacterial, tuberculosis, brucella, viral, Japanese encephalitis, rabies, mytic, histoplasmosis, dermatophytosis, rickettsial, scrub, typhus, Q fever. On the basis of transmission cycle, direct zoonosis transmitted from infected vertebrae host to a susceptible vertebrate host, direct contact formate mechanical vector, no development change to propagation of the organism is occurred during the transmission. Example rabies, anthrax, tuberculosis, cyclozoonosis, cyclozoonosis. This type of disease involve more than one vertebrate host to complete transmission cycle of an infectious agent. It does not involve any invertebrate host. Obligatory cyclogenosis. Human is mandatory or compulsory to complete the life cycle of the agent. That is why the host is called compulsory host. Example Taenia solium, Taenia saginata. Non-obligatory cyclogenosis. Human being get the infected accidentally in the life cycle, and this type of zoonosis from could sick or death and in men. Example high dentitosis, Echinococcus granulosus. Metazoonosis. Metazoonosis causative agent multiply, develop or both multiplication and development occurs in an in invertebrate host before transmission to a vertebrate host is possible. Metazoonosis type first. One vertebrate plus one invertebrate host are involved. Example plague, yellow fever. Metazoonosis type second. One vertebrate plus two invertebrate hosts are involved. Example paragoniasis. Metazoonosis type third. Two vertebrate plus one vertebrate host are involved. Example cyclonotiasis. Metazoonosis type 4. Transovarian transmission is taking place in example tick-borne encephalitis. Saprozoonosis. Saprozoonosis. This infection required a non-animal or non-animate development site or reservoir such as food, plant, soil or other organic material to complete the life cycle of the causative agent. Example, some of the meiotic disease, larva migrans. Saproanthropozooses. These are the disease of animal transmitted to man through non-living or non-animate object. Example, Encyclostomaceae alum. Saproamphigonosis. Saproamphigonosis. These diseases are equally shared in natural by man and animal but are transmitted through non-living object. Example, fungal infection. Saprometaanthropozoonoses. Saprometaanthropozoonoses. This group of disease is required vertebrate host, invertebrate host, and non-living object for complete of transmission cycle of causative agent. Example, fasciitis. On the basis of reservoir host. On the basis of reservoir host, anthropogenosis, the disease of wild and domestic animal which also occur in human are called anthropogenosis. Human get this infection naturally in some frequent condition like occupation. Example, rabies, leptospirosis. Zooanthropogenesis. Zooanthropogenesis. These are disease of animal which normally transmitted from human naturally. Example, bovine tuberculosis. Amphigonosis. These diseases are omnipresent in natural. That is why the diseases are transmitted from animal to human or human to animal. Staphylococcus. Socioeconomic impact of zoonotic disease. Socioeconomic impact of zoonotic disease. In India, approximately 40 zoonotic diseases have been reported so far. Anthrax, brucellosis, plague, rabies, tuberculosis, leptospirosis, Japanese encephalitis, Q fever, and bird flu. Anthrax is an economically important agricultural zoonotic disease of butchers, tanners, woolly stores, and agricultural workers. Brucellosis are 350 million annually in the form of food animal and men die of labor. Impact affect the efficient production of food animal protein, serious occupational hazard, close association of farmer or animal handler with livestock, obstacles in international trade in animal and animal product, high number of death, loss of work efficiency, aim of control, protecting yourself and your family from animal disease and infectious. Farmer more susceptible to contracting zoonosis, more likely to share air and space with animal, more contact with domestic and wild animal. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis Indian scenario 30% of the total global TB cases in India, leading cause of death in Indian women with a total of death annually. 100 Indian die from TB per day, 1 per minute. 95% of new TB cases every day. Socio-economic impact loss of an average of 83 work days. 11% children discontinue schooling, 85% take up employment to support family on account of TB of their parent. Financial loss 4 to 7% loss in GDP due to TB in Asian country. TB cost more than Rs 30,000 crore in India per year. 67 rural, 75% urban patient in debt on account for treatment and loss of workday. Social trauma, rejection of 1 lakh women patient by their family. More than 3 lakh children rejected by school because their parents had TB. 50% rural or 11% urban patient unacceptable and ill-treated by family member. Genetic tuberculosis. Genetic tuberculosis. TB in animal Mycobacterium bovis is spread to human more severe than the human TB, which is spread mainly from man to man. Can spread in all directions: animal man, man animal, and animal to animal. Isolation and identification of M. bovis is very difficult as well as need more time and special media to grow. Zoonotic TB is grossly underreported and undiagnosed. Brucellosis. Brucellosis, occupational zoonosis for farmer, veterinarian, and workers in meat industry. One of the leading causes of infectious abortion. Prevalence rate on organized dairy farm 70%. Brucellosis in India is common in area with high rainfall and humidity. Indian scenario. Socio-economic impact in India, brucellosis as a whole show to cost Rs 350 million in the form of food, animal, and man, mandates of labor. Mandates of labor. Losses due to abortion in the affected animal population, loss of progeny, and reduced milk production. Human brucellosis cause physical incapacity, loss of 3 million man days of labor annually. Anthrax. Anthrax. Economically important agriculture disease. People at risk agriculture work, butcher, tanners, wool store. Endemic in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. 205 documented human cases, majority of cutaneous anthrax. Sporadic disease in cattle in endemic area. 479 deaths in last 3 years. Cutaneous anthrax account for more than 95% of human case. Disease from cutaneous, low mortality, gastrointestinal 50%, pulmonary high mortality. Leptospirosis. Leptospirosis. Disease contracted from infected rats' urine or contaminated water causes population at high risk. Rural farm worker, rice field worker, sugarcane cattle farmer, fishermen, slaughterhouse and shore work. Incident T and Kerala, Andaman over the last 2 decades due to farming in inadequate rodent control. Economic impact, cost for medical treatment, decreased productivity, impact on trade animal, semen losses by reproductive failure and reduced milk yield. Rabies. Rabies. More than 99% of human rabies deaths occur in developing world. Human mortality from endemic area estimated to be 30,000 to 50,000 dead per year. Half of the global human population live in canine rabies endemic area. Economic impact: 96% of cases due to bite of dog, 80 billion, 3.5 million take post exposure vaccine. Economic cost due to rabies in Asia, US. Livestock losses, rabies incident rate like cattle, cost head of cattle, annual number of cattle dead 2001 150. Japanese encephalitis, a disease of rural area and people of lower socioeconomic group, leading cause of viral encephalitis and approx 30,000 to 50,000 cases and 50,000 deaths annually. India 24 state and UTJE reported 378 million people. Population is living at the risk. Recent outbreak in India, UP, July 29, October 3, 2005. Suspected case, Bihar. Socio-economic impact, pig. High mortality in piglet. Great economic impact in swine market. Equine morbidity 2% during outbreak. Mortality up to 5%. Human mortality 5 to 35%. Severe neurological sequelae 33 to 50%. Economic cost approx. Canosur forest disease KFD. Casanur forest disease, viral hemorrhagic disease transmitted through bite of infection tick. Discovered in March 1957. Casanur forest area of Simonga district of Karnataka. Large-scale mortality among monkeys, followed by acute prostrating febrile illness among villagers. 466 human case, followed by 181 the year after. Disease confirmed in 1959 by isolation of viral and serological testing. Approach for prevention and control of disease. Quarantine. Quarantagioni began during the 14th century in an effort to protect coastal cities from plague epidemic. Ship arrival in Venice from infected port were required to sit at anchor for 40 days before landing. OIE was established in Paris in 1924 with a view to make uniform procedure for veterinary quarantine and develop proper regulations that are pertinent, pertinent throughout the world. Mass immunization, smallpox eradication in 1980. Environmental hygiene. National Vector-Borne Disease Control Program. Common vector-borne disease in India: malaria, dengue, chikungunya, malaria, Japanese encephalitis, kala-jar. Health education, reservoir control, detect early, treat better, early diagnosis, improve outcome, mass treatment, test and slaughter, test and trace, epidemiology, movement restriction, safe food production. Thank you.